For a man like you, this price shouldn't be a problem.
It's not the money, it's the principle.
Fine.
Just take it.
The offer came without warning, sharp and public. Slicing through the warm afternoon like a blade, "If I buy all the cakes, will you marry me?" The millionaire stood tall, smiling, certain the world would bend. The vendor did not smile. She looked at him slowly, the way someone looks at a storm they have already survived once. And when she spoke, the street forgot how to breathe. Her voice was calm. Her answer was final. People would remember this moment not because of the money, or the man, or the cakes, lined in neat rows. They would remember it because dignity stood its ground that day. It's quiet and unbreakable. Her name was Alara. She sold cakes on a narrow street where the air always smelled of sugar and heat. The table was old wood, worn smooth by years of use, its legs uneven but steady. Every morning before sunrise, Alara baked. She mixed flour with steady hands, cracked eggs with care, and measured sugar by feel rather than cups. The oven in her tiny kitchen rattled like it might give up any day, but it never did. Neither did she. Alara had eyes that carried tired kindness. They were the eyes of someone who had learned how to endure without asking the world for permission. Her hair was pulled back tight, not for style, but for work. There was a faint scar along her wrist, pale and thin, half hidden beneath her sleeve. People passed her every day. Some smiled. Some did not see her at all. The millionaire saw her. He arrived with a polished car that reflected the sun like a mirror. His shoes never touched dust for long. His watch caught light with every small movement of his hand. He was used to being noticed, used to being obeyed, used to hearing yes before the question even ended. He watched Alara arrange her cakes, one by one, chocolate, vanilla, honey spice. Each one wrapped with care, each one priced low enough that ordinary people could afford a moment of sweetness. He had not come for cake. He came because he was bored, because power had become routine. Because when a man has everything, he sometimes starts testing how much more he can take. He smiled as he spoke again, outer this time so others could hear. "If I buy every cake you have, you will never need this table again. You will never need to stand here. Marry me." People stopped walking. A few laughed, unsure if it was a joke. Some stared at Alara with curiosity, others with pity. Alara did not rush her answer. Inside her chest, memories stirred. Years ago, before the cakes, before the table, before this street, there had been another life. She had been younger then, softer. Her husband, Tomas, had worn a uniform that smelled of iron and dust. He had hugged her before leaving, pressing his forehead to hers, promising to come back. He never did. The letter came folded too neatly. The words were careful, practiced, empty. He died protecting others. He died brave. He died honored. Alara remembered the sound of rain that day, how it hit the roof like small fists. She remembered the weight of silence afterward, the way grief settled into her bones and refused to leave to survive. She learned to work, to live. She learned to bake. Every cake she sold carried a piece of her healing. Flour on her hands grounded her. Heat from the oven reminded her she was still here. Customers became faces she recognized, stories she learned, lives she quietly supported with sweetness. Her dignity was not loud. It did not demand attention. It simply existed. Now, a stranger wanted to buy it. The millionaire waited, still smiling, still certain. He leaned closer, lowering his voice as if kindness could be negotiated. Think about it. Money solves everything. Alara finally met his eyes. She saw not a villain, but a man hollowed by excess. A man who had forgotten how to ask instead of demand. A man who believed love could be purchased in bulk. Around them, the street held its breath. Bystanders watched, silent. No one stepped in. Silence often sides with power. Alara placed her hands on the table. She felt the rough wood beneath her palms. Solid. Honest, she spoke. Marriage is not something you buy, and I am not something you own. The smile on his face flickered. Just a moment. but it was there. He straightened, a hint of steel in his tone now. Everyone has a price. You just don't know yours yet. A few people shifted uncomfortably. A woman near the back frowned. A man crossed his arms but said nothing. Ilara felt the familiar weight of being alone in public. She breathed in the smell of sugar and bread. She thought of Tomas, of mornings alone, of nights when grief tried to drown her, of how she survived anyway. Her voice did not shake. I already paid my price. The words landed softly, but they hit harder than shouting ever could. The millionaire laughed once, sharp and short. Then I will buy the cakes anyway. All of them. You can go home. He reached for his wallet. Ilara did not move. These cakes are not for sale today. That finally broke the calm. Murmurs spread. Confusion. A few raised brows. He frowned. You? Refuse money now. I refuse disrespect. Something changed then. Not in him, but around them. A man stepped forward from the crowd. He wore a faded jacket and carried himself with quiet weight. He looked at Ilara, then at the millionaire. Her cakes kept my shop open last winter. Another voice followed. She gave food to my kids when I couldn't pay. More stepped closer, not shouting, just standing. Ilara had never asked for this. She never spoke of her losses. She never demanded praise. But kindness has a memory, and today it spoke for her. The millionaire looked around, surprised. For the first time, his money did not move the room. Ilara reached beneath the table and pulled out a small framed photo. Tomas, in uniform, smiling, eyes bright. She held it gently. This man loved me without buying me. He stood for others without asking reward. I will not trade that honor for comfort. Silence followed. Heavy. Complete. The millionaire's face hardened. He closed his wallet. You could have had everything. Ilara nodded. I already do. The crowd did not cheer. They did something better. They stayed. They stood. They watched a woman keep her ground. The millionaire turned away. His polished shoes met dust. His car waited, silent and expensive. When he left, the street felt warmer. People approached Ilara's table slowly. Not out of pity. Out of respect, one by one, they bought cakes. Not because they were sweet, but because the hands that made them were strong. A child looked up at her and asked why she said no. Ilara smiled then. A real one, because some things are worth more than money. That line traveled farther than she ever would. By evening, every cake was gone. Ilara packed her table under a sky painted gold and violet. Her arms were tired. Her heart was light. She walked home with empty baskets and full dignity. Somewhere else, the millionaire sat alone, confused by a loss he could not measure. And on that street, long after the sun dipped low, people remembered the day someone tried to buy love and learned it cannot be sold. Respect is quiet, honor does not bend, and the strongest answers are often spoken softly. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from. Tell us what dignity means to you. *. And subscribe for more stories that remind us where true power lives.